Vanakkam. I would thank all of you who are here to be part of this discussion to decentralize. And I would like to thank the Gulati Institute of Finance and Taxation, Thiruvananthapuram, and the Institute of Social Sciences, Puducherry, for this invitation. And I'm very proud to share this stage with the Chief Minister of Puducherry, Mr. V. Narayanaswamy, the Finance Minister of Kerala, T.M. Thomas Isaac, and the former Minister of Jammu and Finance Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, Hasib A. Drabu, and Mr. Balakrishnan, Secretary CPI M, Tamil Nadu State Committee, K.J. Joseph, Director GIFT, V. Selvam, the Regional Director of ISS, and I welcome all the dignitaries and the scholars and the friends from the media. On behalf of the Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam, I would like to present the views and concerns of my party and its presidents on the 15th Finance Commission. I'd like to start with a quote from the Republican governor and US Senator Charles S. Robb. He says, "The fastest way to clear out a room is not to shout fire, but to cry federalism." But I'm glad that federalism has brought us all together here. And I'm very happy to see that people are prepared to discuss. Because what is scary today in this country is not the centralization of powers. It is not eroding the rights of the states. It is not making India into a draconian state where we are looking at having one state, one election, one kind of government, one thought process, one religion, one language. Beyond that, what is really scary and what brings fear into everybody's heart is the silence which is around it. Somewhere, the argumentative Indian has lost the capability to discuss, to argue, and to have a dialogue. I'm sure the friends from the media and the politicians on stage will understand what we are talking about when we talk about the silence in this country. A country which did not hesitate to fight against the imperial powers, against democracy being taken away from this country, and a country which always, in spite of its poverty, in spite of its lacks, always had political dialogues, always stood for its freedom, its beliefs, its faith, and the pluralism and diversity of this country. Today, it has been silenced, and that silence is what is deafening and is what is really putting fear into everybody's heart. And today, we are here to discuss, have a dialogue, and that is a really positive thought. And we can go back with that confidence that this dialogue will continue, will pour out into every sphere, every dialogue taken away from here will question the authoritarianism, the lack of diversity, and the curtailing of powers of the individual citizen of this country. And I have to apologize to share a stage with somebody from Jammu and Kashmir and to be talking about federalism, because we saw the loudest and the most brutal onslaught on federalism and state rights in front of our eyes just a few days ago. And I start with an apology to him, because none of us could stop it. None of us could do anything about it, and we are still silent spectators to what is happening there. And I can't even say we are spectators, because we don't know what is happening there. A few days ago in Parliament, the entire opposition was asking the government why Mr. Farooq Abdullah, who was a member of the Parliament of Lok Sabha, is not here with us. Why is he not here to share and tell us and to represent the people he is supposed to be representing? The only answer we got from the government is silence, cold silence. So, I start with an apology to the people of Jammu and Kashmir and to the people of this country who, in the name of compromise, we have let down, in the name of the future, in the name of a safe India, we have let down. And I apologize to everybody in this country, every student, every minority, every woman in this country who feels let down and left out. I'd like to recall the words of my party's founding leader, Peraringar Anna, who made the following statement on the floor of the Rajya Sabha in 1963. Sovereignty does not reside entirely in one particular place. That is why the framers of the Constitution wanted a federal structure and not a unitary structure. Because, as many political philosophers have pointed out, India is so vast. In fact, it has been described as a subcontinent so vast. The mental health is so varied. The traditions are so different. The history is so varied that there cannot be a steel frame of unitary structure here. But unfortunately, even in spite of his warnings, we are moving towards this unitary structure. And when the Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam formed the government in Tamil Nadu in 1967, and later when Dr. Kalaignar became the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, the Justice P.V. Rajamannar Inquiry Committee on the state-center relationship was constituted. And the committee studied the federal setup and made landmark recommendations. The Rajamannar Committee recommended that the Interstate Council be constituted immediately and all decisions of the Union government which may affect states must be taken by the Interstate Council. It was during this time that Kalaignar came up with the defining slogan of the DMK, Maanilathil Suyaatchi, Maddiyile Kootaatchi, meaning state autonomy for the states, federalism for the union. This has defined the political outlook of the DMK ever since. It is also a fact that DMK has always been at the forefront of the struggle for increased federalism and decentralization, whether this is in a political system or a fiscal structure. The very same echoes in the lines of the fourth US President, James Madison. The accumulation of all powers, legislative, executive, and judiciary, in the same hands, whether of one, a few, or many, whether hereditary, self-appointed, or elective, may justly be pronounced the very definition of tyranny. And when you look at these words, we can clearly see that we are not far away from this. The powers of the legislative, executive, and judiciary. We are not exaggerating when we say that it is in the hands of a few or one, or in the hands of one organization. Everything has been taken away. Every institution in this country has been compromised, has been bent, has been made flexible to suit the needs, the agenda which has been set for this country by a few. And that is where the tyranny which we all fear has started. And therefore, In our party president, Talapati M.K. Stalin, has also brought the attention to various deficiencies in the 15th Finance Commission and its terms of reference. On 22nd March 2018, he wrote to the Prime Minister and 10 Chief Ministers highlighting the unfair aspects of the 15th Finance Commission that would affect equitable distribution of the central tax revenues to the state. And in his letter, he has actually mentioned that efforts and progress made in moving towards replacement level of population growth has actually been punished. That is what we're going towards. People, states are being penalized for our achievements. That is what the 15th Finance Commission is all about. If you have performed well, it is like your teacher or your school saying, oh, you've done very well. You've achieved all the targets. You've been very good. You've done your homework. So please come. Stand outside. Stand in the sun. Get punished. You've done your duties. It's very wrong. So this is where we are heading towards. If you've controlled population, if you've brought in welfare schemes, and if you've lifted your state beyond the national averages, then you have to be punished and penalized for that. Maybe it is the progressive states which have achieved this. And when we look at that, we know the progressive states are not the states ruled by the present central government and the party it belongs to. So maybe that is why we are targeted. That is why states like Kerala, states like Tamil Nadu are being targeted. And sometimes you feel like saying, we told you so. Tamil Nadu has always been the forerunner, and I take great pride in saying that the Dravidian movement and the DMK has always been a strong voice for federalism, and there were points of time. Now everybody is anti-national, so it is okay. But then the DMK was looked as anti-national, talking against the country, the sovereignty of this country, because we were demanding more rights to the state, and we were talking about a federal setup and reducing the powers of the central government. Progressive states, especially those like in his letter, our leader has written, progressive states, especially those in the south, have implemented numerous socio-economic programs on their own and achieved good human development results ahead to similar schemes of the central government. Many states, and especially in Tamil Nadu, we've had schemes, and speakers here have also mentioned, that have been like even our midday meal scheme. Today it's implemented throughout the country. It was started in Tamil Nadu. But the center, today when it's implementing schemes for the entire nation, they're shifting the burden of finances on the states. Slowly, every year, the amount of money which is being given to the state government has been reduced. And, of course, after the GST, the money which the state had in its hand for the welfare of the people, for expenses, to take care of, to run the state, has been reduced to a great extent. And this morning, when I met the Chief Minister of Puducherry, he was telling me that the refunds which have to come from GST has not come to his state. And I think that's a case of Kerala and many other states. And I told him, even my MP-LAT funds have not come. This is a state he is talking about. That is the state of the economy. a state is a really large amount of money we are talking about. But even the funds which MPs spend for their constituency, that has not been reimbursed, that has not been given to the contractors or the people who've taken up that work. And this is not just the MP lads. This is what is happening to all the central schemes. People who've taken up jobs, the states which trusted the center and have implemented schemes have not been refunded. And this GST refunding has become very detrimental to industry. Tirupur in Tamil Nadu, it's in such a bad shape. Factories are closing. Lakhs and lakhs of people who've had employment there have lost their jobs because of the faulty GST policy and the factories and the industry not being reimbursed. So, demonetization, GST. Amartya Sen, in one of his articles, has said that the states should have been consulted before the demonetization. Because, I mean, it's unthinkable. I can see the professor here laughing when I said states have to be consulted, because states are not being consulted about anything. It's a big brother attitude. They sit there and they tell us everything. I'm actually fascinated by the tyranny, by the lopsided decisions taken in the parliament, in the Lok Sabha. I was in the Rajya Sabha, and with a lot of enthusiasm, I went to the Lok Sabha thinking that I can understand, see democracy from its grassroots level in the people's house. But today, any law can be brought in the morning. The morning when the bill is going to be introduced in the house, any bill can be brought. After the JNK bill, a friend asked me, so how many different parts is Tamil Nadu going to be divided? The only answer I could give him in anger was, I hope the parliament will be there for you to bring that bill. But sadly, the silence which envelops this country, I don't know if they are going to stop with this, because we had an executive council meeting of the DMK, and one of the most important concerns our party leaders and party leadership had expressed was removing the states, like it was mentioned here also, and bringing what the RSS agenda, the Janpads, around 400 or more Janpads, to replace the states in this country. So, this could happen. I mean, I cannot say I'm exaggerating. When you listen to this, it sounds like a ridiculous exaggeration. How can anybody do away with states in India? But then, anything is possible in this country the way we are going. If we can divide a state into 2 union territories one fine morning, if we can say that we can send a husband who pronounces triple talaq to jail without any questions for a year, we can do anything. So, I think this is just not a discussion about the finance commission of this country, the fiscal federalism of this country. I think there is more to this discussion, and I think we should take this discussion about the rights of the individual, the rights of the minorities, and the right of existence as a free human being. We have given so much. Every individual here and our forefathers have fought for this right, for the self-respect, for the dignity to be citizens of this country. But today, we can see that this right, this dignity has been chipped away slowly, and I don't know how long I can say it will be chipped away slowly, because one fine day, we might just see in the parliament that something completely new can come to replace what we know and understand as the Constitution of India and the basic structures of this Constitution, which has promised us dignity and liberty, can be taken away. And a few days ago, Dr. Manmohan Singh, our former Prime Minister, had written an article in the Hindu. And in that, when he talks about the economy of this country, he very specifically and clearly says that it is just not the economy of this country which concerns him. He says that it is a fear psychosis in the industry, among the people, and the mistrust of the government and the mistrust of institutions that is leading us deeper and deeper into this economic crisis. So, I hope this discussion also focuses about the fears in this country and the silence, the very worrying silence, and the refusal to have a dialogue and a discussion and a right to raise our voices against what we think is unjust. I think this has to go forward from here if we want to see India as what it has to be, and the India, and has to remain the India what we know and want it to be. Thank you.